At Uplers, our purpose is to create opportunities for top Indian talents, and we are a job hosting platform where top remote companies post their jobs on our platform, and people who are interested in grabbing amazing opportunities can join those companies, and that's what we do. And in today's session, we will be talking about how to crack amazing remote opportunities from top remote companies like Quillbot. So Quillbot is a remote company. It is a SaaS-based product company, and Quillbot also has an amazing work culture, amazing Glassdoor ratings. And today, Himanshu Dubey, who is our guest, will also talk about how you can crack a top remote role at Quillbot, what their values are, and what Quillbot does, and what are the openings available in Quillbot. His learnings today will also help us understand a little bit more about how top remote product companies hire, and it will go much beyond Quillbot. But yeah, for Quillbot, he'll go in depth. Himanshu, welcome on board. Thanks a ton for taking the time out and joining us for this session. Would love to know a little bit about you and let our audiences know a little bit about your journey.
Hey, first of all, thank you for inviting me. Really happy and excited to be here. A bit nervous as well, but I think that's all right. um, uh, See, about myself, I come with around like 15, 16 years of experience into talent acquisition, working with multiple IT companies of all sorts, of all stages. I think I started my career way back in 2004 when I started working with a company called Genpact, and then from there on, I have been continuously working, with enterprises as well as uh, some successful startups in between, and I just love the part of talent acquisition because it enables me to, make sure that only the right people come in and be a part of your organization. That's a huge responsibility because it can make or break an organization. So really, really feel blessed about being a part of talent acquisition circle, and yeah, really feel blessed about working with such amazing organizations, and currently with Quillbot as well. I think it has been an amazing experience for me. Yeah.
No, awesome. We would love to get those insights from all your experiences across various companies, and I'm sure that will enrich the people who are looking for amazing opportunities.
Yeah.
For all our viewers who have joined in today, what's one of the most important things while cracking a job? So, for any company that you want a job in, it's vital that you understand what that company does, right? If you do not understand what that company is doing, there is no point in trying even to apply for that job, because if you don't know what that company does, there are very high chances that you will not be able to crack that interview thoroughly, right? People who are interviewing expect you to have done a little bit of research about that company, know what you are getting into, and that way you yourself will also be confident and will understand why you want to join a particular company. I think that's one of the key aspects in your job search journey, right? So let's understand from Himanshu a little bit about Quillbot and what Quillbot does, so that you guys also have a perspective about why you want to join Quillbot and what Quillbot is all about.
Great. I think thanks, Roger. Again, you touched base on a lot of critical points there. Regarding Quillbot, I think we are one of the very few companies that are working in the generative AI domain where we still believe that human in loop connection is really, really important. There are a lot of companies out there that are now working in generative AI where you just add a sentence and then you get the entire thing, right? And then we don't really believe in that. I think we want people to express themselves with their original ideas, with their original thoughts, and then let the AI work its magic to create a more polished version of what they want to express, rather than completely removing their creativity out of the picture and then give them the entire um, content without any context. So so yeah, I think our motto, our mission is to make writing painless for you know millions of people globally. And that is something that we truly believe in. And I think we are making sure that we keep on adding more amazing and interesting features to our arsenal so that we can help more people, express themselves in a better way, uh, when they when they're trying to express themselves on either social media platforms, or maybe when they're communicating with their friends or communicating with their colleagues through email, through chat, through messaging. And then of course to students, who are trying to submit their assignments, their theses in the best language possible, to get them good grades, um, good scores. And then of course we have come across situations wherein people have come to us, users have come to us, and they have shared their feedback that Quillbot has really helped them to write or express themselves in a much better way, where English was not their first language and they were not really able to communicate or express their ideas in the best way possible. And then they did it. And then when they used Quillbot, they saw the difference, and it helped, or it actually made an impact in their lives. So that is something that we are really proud of, that we are actually making an impact in our users' lives. We are actually benefiting our users, and it's a net positive product that we are trying to build over here.
No, it's amazing. And you have more than 35 million active monthly users. So that's
Yeah, I
roughly
think,
three times the size of Sweden.
yeah, and that is something really amazing. I think, how we have grown, how the kind of love, the kind of brand love that we have received from our users year over year, keeping in mind that we are only like 4 years, in this industry, and how we have grown like from 0 to 35, or now we are close to 38 million users. And with our sister companies combined, we have a combined strength of around 60 million monthly active users. So that is something which is like unprecedented, and we would definitely want to keep, um, our, you know values, or maybe our feature list really high, so that we can keep on adding or keep on bringing more users to our platform, keep them interested in using it in their day-to-day lives, and kind of keep on making an impact in their daily lives as well.
Yeah, no, that's super amazing. So anyone who is planning to join Quillbot or ends up joining Quillbot will, in some way or the other, make their contribution in the lives of around 40 million odd people, and that's the scale at which people would be kind of operating at. That's amazing. Now, we as applicants who tend to apply, a lot of us make that mistake of not giving enough importance to the HR round. So we are all technically very savvy. We understand digital marketing aspects very well. We have those
Mm.
amazing hard skills, right? And we have gained that over experience of 5 years, 10 years, right?
Right.
But a lot of us are so focused on those skills that we do not give enough importance to the values of the company, right? And that's where a lot of us get rejected on the culture run. And we always feel that, hey, I am so good technically. Why did they reject me? I don't know,
Yeah.
right? But then there is that understanding, or there is that lack of understanding in terms of values and all. Drive us through the importance of values when we want to join any organization, and then let's talk a little bit about the values at Quillbot as
Yeah.
well.
I think, we'll start with values, but I think, before we talk about the values, I think one thing that you touched upon, that not giving enough importance to that first discussion that they have with either the recruiter or the HR person. I think, um, you know what I have felt is people come to these discussions, um, imagining that all the information will be given to them, which is of course fair. Like, I do that, when I speak with candidates, and then I try to give them all the information. But sometimes I am flabbergasted to hear that they don't even know what Quillbot does, right? And that is where the biggest problem lies. Where I believe that if you're coming to any discussion as a candidate, like what I would do as a candidate would be to at least do a little bit of research about the organization, like what it does, what kind of problems it's trying to solve. It's a free product, so you can even use it, right? Quillbot, if you go to the website, You can even use it like, and try to see what it's actually doing, right? So, and that is something which amazes me that they don't even uh, do any research there. And when I have a discussion with people, it's like, oh, you are like ChatGPT, or so they just don't really have any basic sense of what we're trying to do over there. So my request to any of the prospect or maybe potential applicants here listening to this would be, please do some research, a minimal research wherein you just know what this company is all about. And then, of course, ask questions to the recruiter, the HR person, as much as you want, right? I think we are there to guide you, with those queries and with those questions and concerns. So that's all fair game. Coming to the values, Quillbot, we are very, very choosy because we are a very small team and we're not really looking to hire like 200 people in the next year. It's like we would probably be hiring like 50, 60 people at max. So we are very, very choosy when it comes to bringing people on board. The and that's where these values come in, because when we do a culture fitment round, we look at all these things like our core values are ownership, wherein we want somebody who's ready to own the tasks or maybe the projects that are given to them end to end. Like there should not be a feeling wherein people would say, hey, I'm part of this team, but this is their responsibility, this is my responsibility. I think when you are working on a project, you should own it. If you are seeing a mistake that is being done by somebody else as well, correct it. And then maybe come with that mindset that if you see a problem, you fix it rather than highlighting it again and again. So that is something where we want you to take that ownership of the entire project. The second thing is, of course, customer first mentality, where I think this is the most important value that we have, because whatever we do at Quillbot, like whether we are releasing a new feature, whether we are improving our current features, whatever it is, I think it is all done with keeping in mind the kind of impact it will create on our users. So when you are coming to Quillbot, you need to come with a customer first mindset that, okay, hey, whatever I do, I am going to make a huge impact on you know my user. So I need to be very, very certain of whatever I do so that I don't really, mess up a user experience, or maybe I don't give them a bad experience when they are trying to use Quillbot, right? So come with the mindset of, I want to make a positive impact of a positive impact on the users' lives. Of course, resourcefulness. We are a scrappy organization. We are still in a hyper growth phase, limited resources. So we want somebody who can, who is pretty great, but that person can really work with the limited resources that we have and generate the highest possible output. And understand that the scrappiness is really, really important for this organization. We don't really have a lot of strictness when it comes to the processes, or maybe the flexibility is always there, right? But then, of course, come with the mindset, or maybe have that particular um, have that mindset that, okay, these are the resources that I have. I know they are limited, but I have to maybe deliver my best output from whatever I have. And that is what resourcefulness is all about at 12 tenacity. I think, again, being scrappy, uh, don't give up sort of an attitude that, okay, see, whatever the challenge is, I'm going to make sure that I solve this. Be tenacious, don't give up easily on any of the problems or challenges that you come across. Growth mindset. Again, we have a learning culture at Quillbot. Even if you fail, we feel that there's a learning in that, and then you learn from that mistake, and try to keep on thinking about, hey, with this growth, with this particular failure also, what is the learning that I have had, and how can I implement it, or how can I implement this learning in my next project and my next task so that I don't repeat it again, and I grow as an individual, I grow as a professional. So have that growth mindset as well.
No, amazing. I think this is super insightful. A lot of people have that ownership when it
Yeah,
comes to their own particular job description scope, but they often do not
yeah,
go beyond that. I think in small teams and in product companies, there is so much interconnection between different because an engine has so many connected parts that if you are myopic only to your
Yeah.
area, it will not work out for the
It
entire
will not
team.
work out because you're working very closely with all the functions, right? I mean, it's not
Yeah,
like you're just working with the engineering team. If you are part of an engineering team in the product in a small product organization, you're also working with with the product team. You're also working with the marketing team. You're also working with the design team, right? So if you feel that there is something which is not working, highlight it. Like don't just say that, hey, this was your fault. That's why this didn't work, right? So have that ownership that okay, this is my project. I want to make sure that even if it's like somewhere design is not optimum, maybe let them know that hey, design is not optimum. Let's try to fix it. Maybe if marketing strategies are not really working in the favor of engineering teams, let's make sure that you have a collaboration with them and try to come up with a solution together. Just don't be in a silo wherein you feel that okay, I'm an engineer, my job is to code, that's it. So have a 360-degree, view of everything that's happening around you, and just try to help every other department that you're working very closely with as well.
yeah, absolutely. And another point about minimal resources, which you mentioned, it's so critical. A lot of times, engineers or even other department folks just feel that yeah, it's okay to allocate so much AWS space more or things like that. But even if we are spending $1 additional per user, that will be 35 million for the company, right?
Yeah,
And so if you write algorithms which are not optimal, it will multifold the impact will be multifold on the company's revenues, right? And the
yeah,
company's expenses. So very at scale, it's very important to be highly optimal in your code. No extra resources of your computing should be used, and so much more.
yeah. Again, very, very critical. I think having this sense of, again, if you have the sense of ownership, you
Yeah,
can definitely think of a lot about this particular point as well. That
yeah,
hey, I need to take care of my company's finances as well, right?
yeah,
That whatever I'm writing, I know that my company has limited resources. How can I make sure that whatever I write as a code or whatever tools I bring on board will be saving or will be cutting costs, somewhere and will be saving money for the company, right? I think having that sort of vision is of course very important. I think we celebrate even like a code that saves like $10,000 for us. We celebrate it, right?
yeah, absolutely,
And I think that should be, and I'm just talking from the engineering front. I think there are so many things that you can do from, a product front
product,
or maybe a
yeah, yeah,
research front or maybe a design front. I think there's just so many things that you can do, right? That can save your company a lot of money, right? And how do
absolutely,
you do it? And how do you kind of put that strategy in place as a as an individual who is invested into all the functions of the company. Maybe you're working for a single function, but you're invested in all the functions. So how can you maybe give an idea to a design team that hey, if you do this, maybe we can save more money? Or as a designer, how can I say this to an engineer that hey, if we implement this feature, I think we'll be saving more money, right? See, again, we don't really feel, or uh, we're not really seeing any financial crisis at the organization, but like whatever you do as an individual to save even $1, I think that's like adding to the bottom line, right? So I
absolutely.
think if you can do it, then nothing like it.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally. And I think this should also reflect in the ability to answer questions in an interview, right?
Yeah,
People answering quickly, but not the best answer. Rather than that, take a minute to think, identify different scenarios, and come up with the best possible scenario to your interviewer. I think that will impress them the most because if you are able to do it in the interview, you'll obviously be do it when you join the company as well.
yeah. I think, and that's very important as well. I think I've seen because I generally join the technical interviews and maybe the hiring manager interviews as well. And I think the recruiter interviews or maybe the HR interviews are basically for you to vent out as much as you want about your, professional journey, about your education background, whatever you want to speak about. You have 60 minutes, go ahead and, talk as much as you want. But as soon as you enter the next phase of, when you speak with a hiring manager, maybe a technical interview, I think it all becomes more about the impact that you have created, it is all about being data driven, show the data in the conversation rather than talk a lot on the theoretical side of it. I've seen people go like for 10 minutes on a single question, and not really getting to the point as well. Like the question which was asked, they didn't even answer that question and they just talked for like 10 minutes, right? So maybe when a question is asked, again, as you mentioned, take like 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds to just think about what do you want to say, because it's all about being data driven. It's all about being analytical. Um, as you mentioned here as well, again, when we are talking previously about saving costs, right? So like if you have saved some cost, like say I saved, X amount of money for my company by doing this, I added like, X percentage of uh, monthly active users because when I implemented this feature, like more people were drawn to the product, right? So I think talk about the impact that you have made rather than how good you are with, with your coding, with your design skills, with your product management skills. I think that's good, and that's the reason why you're talking to them, because somebody's already done that. You have that, you have all those skills, and that's the reason why you are interviewing at Quillbot, and that's the reason why you're speaking with the hiring manager, right? So now it's time for you to shine. It's time for you to basically show the kind of impact that you have created in your current organization, in your previous organizations. um, how much users have you acquired, how much money have you saved for your company, how much money have you earned for your company. I think those things become very, very important in your leadership styles. I think maybe you can be more analytical about um, how you look at the performances, how performance driven you are, rather than saying, hey, I try to become friends with my people, and I try to save them. So I think again, that's a good feature, right? But maybe be more analytical, that hey, I look at all this data when I'm doing the performance management, or maybe the appraisal for my team members. So be as much data driven as possible, be as much analytical as possible rather than going in lens you know about your skills in theory.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. And yeah, talking about interviews, let's cover the interview process at Quillbot. I think that will be a very important aspect for people to know.
Yeah, I think it's fairly standard. I think a lot of people who have been applying here, who have been applying at Quillbot, maybe at other organizations as well. I think a very standard process, at least for the first couple of phases, wherein somebody applies, a recruiter, the first part is of course a recruiter will be looking at your profile. They will just try to figure out if whatever you mentioned on the CV is it matching at least the basic requirements that we have. Are you coming from a B2C company? Are you coming from a company that where you scale like zero to a product from zero to one, one to 10, 10 to 100, whatever it is. I think all the basic uh, skills and experiences that you have mentioned in your CV, somebody would review it. And if they feel that, hey, I think this matches at least what we want on papers, let's have a discussion with this person. So then the second discussion will be all about, you know, um, meeting with this candidate and, talking about their experiences, the kind of impact that they have, and of course, answering their questions that they might have regarding Quillbot. A lot of people come to these interviews and, they have certain questions as in how do you see the future and all those things. I think, and which is very fair, and that's why we are there for. And so it's like if it's a 60-minute discussion, it's like divided into 30 minutes uh, in two sections. Wherein the first section I try to, or maybe my team would try to answer questions for the candidate so that they can have a better understanding of the role and the company, and then we deep dive into their experiences and we just try to understand if whatever they have mentioned in the CV is exactly, or maybe is it something that they have really, really done. So when we feel that okay, this is fitting, we move on to the next phase, which is we start lining up their technical discussions, or maybe skill based discussions with the hiring manager or maybe with the technical leads. So the third part is the hiring manager interview, wherein of course if we like somebody, we ask them to meet the hiring manager so that the hiring manager can do a semi-technical discussion wherein they would want to check the technical abilities as well as if they are a good culture fit. So when I say culture fit, the values that we mentioned or we talked about in the previous slides, I think that is something that we try to gauge in. And again, it's not a very deep dive. I think it's more like, hey, again, is it at least on a from a bird's eye view? Does it fit in? Because 60 minutes you cannot really do a lot of assessment there. And if you feel that okay, at least whatever is written in the CV is fair enough, let's now do the skill based interview. So now here, um, the experts will come into play, and like from our company, experts from different functions for different roles will do a technical interview. This will be like purely technical, where they will give you case studies, or maybe they'll give you some life problems to solve, and they'll just try to see how you react to it, what is your thought process, and um, uh, how what how's your attitude also, like when you're trying to solve those problems. So that is something that we do. And then if we feel and by the way, this skill based interview depends if we want to do like just one discussion, or do we need another discussion just to make sure if we have any doubts to eliminate those doubts. So that can also happen where we have like a part two of skill based assessments as well. Once somebody clears that, I think we do a culture fitment interview, which will be either done by the HRBP or maybe the hiring manager again, right? So the hiring manager can come into play again and say, hey, now this person has cleared all these interviews. Now I just really, really want to see if this guy meets all the values or the culture, that we have in place. The HRBP can also do it, by the way. Again, depending on how the hiring manager wants to go about it. Again, if somebody clears that discussion as well, then we move into the negotiation phase where we will talk about. Um, Generally, we try to take the expectations in the beginning of the interview process itself, so that we don't really have to do a lot of back and forth in this particular phase. So this is more like, I mean, in our case at Quillbot, 90% of the times it is more like a formal discussion where we say, hey, in the beginning you said this is what you're expecting. So we are pretty good with that. We think that you are an excellent, that you will be an excellent addition to our team, and we are happy to offer you the kind of expectations you had when we started this conversation. And then we start with the offer process. Once the offer is rolled out, we start the background check through a third party vendor, and they just validate all the information that is shared by the candidate. So this is how a typical process looks like. Again, this is a typical process. There could be additions or deletions of the stages depending on how well the candidate is performing, or how not well the candidate is performing.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. A couple of questions, but before I ask my questions, I would also encourage our participants, if they have any questions, they can post them in the chat window. We'll pick it up at the end of the session in the last 10 to 15 minutes. So go on, whoever has any questions, put them in the chat. Coming to the questions in the stage one, which is your application review stage, right? Now, Quillbot, because you guys are such an amazing employer brand, you guys have amazing Glassdoor ratings, and the packages are also relatively high, you would be getting a lot of CVs, right? Now, how do I ensure that if I am the right fit, I also make an application which kind of stands out, right? So what are the basic do's and don'ts that I should have, like maybe having a cover letter, or what are the basics that I need to get right to increase the chances of my CV getting selected?
Yeah. All right. I think the one thing that I want to highlight here would be, um, yeah, the one thing that am I on mute? I'm not,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Okay.
no, we can hear you.
All right. The one thing that I want to highlight here is that, of course, when you post a job on any of the job boards, you start receiving a lot of applications. And in that process, a lot of good applications can go missing. And that's why I request people, when I chat with people, on other platforms as well, I request, people to look at the job description very, very closely. Generally, on job platforms, what happens is you see a job and then you just apply on it without even looking at what exactly is the requirement of this job, right? So when you're applying, the first thing that you need to see is this job description fitting exactly to what I've done in the past, right? Or to what I'm doing at my current organization. Am I coming from a B2C company? Do I work in a B2C company? Do I work in the growth phase? Is retention my primary, focus? Is growth my primary focus in my current role? If that's not the case, then please don't apply, because that's not going to work out anyway. So apply only if you feel that whatever is mentioned in the JD is really, really relevant to what you have been doing or what you are currently doing in your current organization. Um, that's one. Highlighting yourself. Um, a lot of things that I have seen, a lot of roles that we have closed in the past, wherein people directly reached out to me. Even if they applied on LinkedIn, they will reach out to me and say, "Hey, Himanshu, I applied for this role. Maybe you missed out on my profile. Please have a look at it." Right? Even though I try my best to look at all the relevant profiles that have been coming in, but sometimes it can happen where I miss in a very very or miss out on a very very interesting profile. So people do reach out to me as well, and I encourage it. I encourage people to reach out to me, or if you feel that there are other stakeholders. Maybe if you find like a VP of engineering or maybe a director of engineering or director of product, reach out to those people and try to maybe make a case for yourself that, hey, I feel that this role is really really uh, exciting, and I think I feel very close. I mean, I have been doing all these things that you just mentioned uh, in the job description. I can relate to it very very closely. So I do feel I'm a really, really good fit for this. Having a cover letter helps, but in that cover letter, could you please mention again? Can you highlight the impact or the data that has kind of created an impact in your previous roles, I mean previous companies? If you can show that in the cover letter, I think again it makes a very very good case for you to get that particular role. I think that's the first barrier. I think that's the very first, and that's the very important barrier to cross, right? Because if you can get seen by a recruiter of that particular role, I think that's the battle half won, right? And because that's the most critical stage, I believe, is there, because generally a lot of good people apply, but they don't even get a call back or maybe a shout back from the recruiters of the company, right? So if you can somehow make sure that you can reach out to a recruiter, uh, please make sure that you do that, right? I think, and when you reach out to them with the best possible data, because they are already working with a huge pipeline or a huge database of their own, where they're trying to line up the interviews for that particular role. So try to make as much as of an impact as possible in your first contact when you reach out to a recruiter.
No, super. I think that is really very, very helpful. That don't just rely on applying via
Yeah,
job boards. Reach out to people and explain them why you fit with the JD. So that way, the recruiters and the hiring managers, whoever you reach out to, will know that you have gone through the JD, you understand the JD, and you are also able to articulate why you are suitable for that JD. Right? So that person is
yeah,
more likely to revert to you and take it from there. Yeah, I think
yeah,
such a simple basic step, but a lot of us miss out on that.
yeah. I think the problem is that people just apply and they believe magically that that somebody would definitely call them. And trust me, as a recruiter, it's almost impossible. Like
Yeah,
if there are like, if a recruiter is working on 3 or 4 profiles, and for each and every role they are receiving like 1,000 or 1,500 applications, so that's almost like looking at 6,000 applications, and that's practically not possible. Like and I feel sorry that a lot of the people who apply to it, we're not really able to reach out to them and just let them know personally that, hey, sorry, we were not really, I think there were some misalignments, but we hope you, or wish you all the best. And even that we cannot do, because it's just highly, highly impractical and like impossible at this particular stage, where reaching out to 6,000 and 7,000 people. I think uh,
not
I'm just
humanly
sorry. I can
possible.
just say
Yeah,
I'm sorry to all the candidates, but If you are really, really good, I think a recruiter will definitely reach out to you or find a way to reach out to you somehow.
No, absolutely. Uh, coming to the next steps, right? There are a lot of people who have this basic question that how do we find remote opportunities and how do we get hired? Any
Yeah.
particular tips that you might want to share on finding amazing remote jobs and then applying and getting through?
Yeah, I think even here I feel that people are relying mostly on just one or two job boards. The people would either go to LinkedIn or maybe they would just go to some other job boards where they can find remote job. I'm sorry. But in honesty, there are so many other job portals where you can just simply go and see where are the remote jobs that are available. Now, the site that I've mentioned here is a good site. Of course, it has multiple locations in it. Not every remote job that is mentioned here um, will be in India. But again, I think there are so many US companies now these days as well, wherein they are open to hire people from India as well. So it's a good opportunity. I think the first step is of course looking for the right role, and then if you're looking for right role, just don't rely heavily on any single job board. Have plenty of options. Look at all the invest a lot of time in searching the right platform and look for the right role. Then that's how you do it. That's number one. And the second thing is, of course, how can you get hired? Now, how to get hired, I think we have already discussed a bit about it, wherein reach out to the recruiter through a direct message. Find them on LinkedIn, get connected with them, reach out to them, drop a message, try to find somebody else in that organization, LinkedIn, try to reach out to them. Um, and then again, do a lot of research about the company wherever you're applying. Right? I think we have discussed that as well. Research and reach, right? When you're applying, I think research and reach is basically the best way. I think the kind of job market is right now. I think it is a lot of people. I can see that the kind of job market it is right now. A lot of people are struggling to find a good job, and it is a true fact. I think we cannot really deny that things are really, really tough on a lot of people these days. I think even if somebody is working at an MNC or maybe uh, a Mang company, I think they do feel that pressure that anything can happen at any point in time. So don't keep your options limited. Have multiple options, but then have a good reach and research theory in place or research and reach theory in place, wherein you do a lot of research and you reach out to as many people as possible uh, to get that role. It's a tough situation. It's a tough market. There's a lot of competition. There are limited opportunities and there are like unlimited applicants. So how do you make sure that you stay um, or you highlight yourself out of that particular crowd? Yeah, and the only way you can do it is by making sure that you are making your presence felt by reaching out to as many people as you can. And again, when you're reaching out to all those people, just make sure that you are reaching out with the right details. Just don't say, "Hi, I just saw this role and I applied. Can you please help?" Like, why would anybody help? Like, just let's be honest, right? Why would anybody help? Like, they will only help you if they find you to be really fitting for that role. And the only way they can know that you're fitting for that role is when you are sharing all the right data with them and all the right information with them about your candidature, right? So it's a grind, it's a struggle, but then if you want to be successful, you have to be better than what everybody else is doing. And what everybody else is doing is they're just simply applying and saying hi to people on LinkedIn. And unfortunately, that would not work.
No, absolutely. I am totally aligned. And it's yeah, I mean, best things happen to those who grind it out. If you
Yeah,
are just too lazy to read the job description, understand what it's asking for, and then justify and articulate to the person reaching out, no one would help. That is a fact. Uh,
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
insightful, yeah. Yep. Now coming to the job opportunities at Quillbot, would love to hear what are the active jobs that you have, and a little bit about the kind of people you're looking for those roles.
Yeah, I think we are currently hiring for multiple positions across all levels. We are looking for VP of marketing in USA, and then uh, for VP of marketing, of course, we want somebody who has 15, 16 years of experience minimum and coming from a proven B2C background, running successful social media campaigns, influencer marketing campaigns, leading high performing teams. I think leading high performing teams is that goes for every leadership role which is mentioned here, right? I think these B2C um, scaling a product, having a proven record of leading high performing teams. I think that goes for like every leadership role. I think that the first 2 points that go for every other role as well. That I think the background is very, very relevant. I mean, we are very, very choosy when we select a particular resume for the interviewing process. So, are you coming from a B2C background? Have you worked with a company that has scaled, or where you played an important role in scaling up that particular product, right? So that those two is like very, very critical. And then uh, everything is else is something that you can discuss when you are basically doing an interview you know with either the recruiter or the hiring manager. But if you want your CV to get shortlisted, I think those two key pointers should be there. For leadership roles, I think we want people to have a stability. I think that would be for director and VP of marketing, and even for principal engineer as well, right? For principal roles as well. So we want at least a person who has spent good enough time to make sure that they have created an impact, right? If somebody's like hopping a job every year, I don't think that that person can really make an impact on any of the organizations, because you at least have to be like in the system for at least 1, 2, 3 years to make sure that you have uh, created an impact. Again, I can be wrong here. I could be having a myopic vision or version of um, my ideology that okay, to create an impact you have to be in that system for some point in time. So that is also important. I think for principal SEO, sorry, for full stack engineers and SEO specialists, again, those 2 or 3 pointers are critical. Stability is something that we can be flexible there, but again, we would want for them to have some sort of stability for sure. Passive jobs, of course, full stack engineers. We are always looking for a full stack engineer at all levels. People who have good experience on front end systems and back end systems. Um, and UX designers. We're always hiring for UX designers as well. I mean, even if we are not really posting a job there on job boards or maybe on our career website, that is something that we're always looking at. And we might not post it all the time, but then we receive a lot of messages from these folks all the time that we don't really have to post as well. So I think I think that takes care of itself. Yeah.
No, I think super. And yeah, I'm sure people have a lot of clarity on why stability is important and why they may be getting rejected, even though they may feel that they have amazing tech skills. But yeah, career stability is something that may be really crucial. So yeah, there are a couple of questions that we'll be taking from the audiences now. One that caught my eye, the first was about 3 month notice period. Like a lot of people have that large notice period of 3 months, and employers in general would not want to wait for 3 months of notice period, right? So how do you see long notice periods of candidates? Is that something that would be going against them?
I think as an industry, I have this core belief that it is almost criminal to have 3 months notice period. And any company that does 3 months notice period is, I don't know what they want those people to achieve in that 3 months when they are working with them. But as a company, we are not really against that. I think we have hired people in the past who have 3 months notice period, and even for all the current roles that are open with us, we are not saying that we want somebody immediately. right? We don't really have any uh, negative notions for people who have 3 months notice period. I think we want people to be good. If they're good, doesn't matter if the notice period 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever. So again, as I said, we have hired people who have 90 days of notice period, and we will keep on hiring people with 90 days of notice period.
No, that's amazing and very kind of you. One more question which came from the realm of AI, right? How do you see prompt engineering roles opening up in the future? Do you see prompt engineering has a good scope, or is it just a fad which will kind of pass away?
Yeah, I don't think that that's going to sustain, right? We would definitely want to make sure that, again, if we are a company, if we are a product that believes in human in loop connection all the times, then the prompt engineering thing doesn't really fit into our vision or the values or the culture that we have here at Quillbot. So I don't really think that AI, or I mean, AI is definitely improving, heaps, but I don't really think that in the next near future they will just completely be able to take over, what a human can do, or what that intelligence is still yet to be achieved. Otherwise, if we would have reached that level, I think you probably would have been seeing, you know, uh, all these jobs
Everything.
sort of
Yeah,
removed or gone by now. So that's not going to happen.
true,
Maybe
true.
people can do it for like experimental purposes, but again, I think that would be more like a hobby rather than, or maybe like an experiment rather than a permanent idea.
No, fair point. What kind of analytical skills are most sought after at Quillbot? Is it like Python, Java, Power BI, any specific skill set that you guys look forward to?
So when it comes to engineering, I think we basically hire, full stack engineers. So we want people who have good experience with React, JavaScript. In backend, we want people to have good amount of experience with Node and MongoDB. When it comes to database, somebody who has good experience with Google Cloud, and AWS. Python is basically when we're hiring for a machine learning engineer. I think that's where we need Python, and when we very seldom hire machine learning engineers. I think for us, data science and machine learning is like maybe the third most frequently hired role, but like full stack engineering is where we focus a lot on.
Understood. Now, Quillbot is remote, right? And in remote, there are challenges of collaboration, communication, and
Mhm.
also professional development of people working remotely, right? So, how do you guys address this collaboration challenges? Because we are not face to face, you can't just tap a person sitting next to you and ask something, right?
Mhm.
In remote, it's pretty difficult that way. So how do you guys ensure seamless day-to-day operations in remote?
Yeah, I think it's a luxury. I think mm, of course we believe that a lot of times companies have taken the remote, or maybe it's not about just companies, it's about how employees look at it as well, right? uh, they can look at it as a great tool to maybe have a good work life balance, but at the same time I have seen people slacking a lot as well, right? Wherein people just are going to Missouri and working, they saying I am working today, and then next day you find them in Missouri or somewhere else. So again, at Quillbot, we have been very, very lucky because it's a small team, right? And we don't really have a scope for uh, procrastination, right? You definitely have to, whatever your responsibilities are, you have to deliver it on time. And I think people are very responsible as well. I think that is something that where we feel very, very blessed that we don't really have to enforce anything. That we don't really have to say, hey, please look at it, or please look after your responsibilities and your deliverables, right? So that is something that we don't really have to do. I think we hire people. When we hire people, we make sure that this person has all the right values, and that's the reason why we have those values in place. Because when we find somebody who has all those values in place, then we know that this person will not be you know taking the remote work option as a taking remote work option for granted, right? They will be doing their jobs, and of course, the culture, the management, the leadership plays a very very vital role in making sure that um, all these things are followed and nobody's really slacking for sure. The remote work culture at Quillbot, I think we have in place. We don't see it as a challenge. We don't really see it as a problem. We do have frequent face-to-face meetings in our Jaipur office where engineering team, product teams, marketing teams, they come to Jaipur office and they work uh, together like for a week or two so that they can brainstorm on major releases. But other than that, I think everybody works remotely, and I don't see, or we have not really seen any challenges or any problems so far.
No, amazing. Now, this question is coming from someone who does not have professional experience, right? So they would have done personal projects and stuff. So, uh, how does someone who does not have professional experience but has done personal projects make their CVs, and how would they stand out? And what are the chances that they can get through?
Again, I think that it's a very very good question because I see a lot of messages coming to me on daily basis about because we don't really have any opportunities for freshers at this point in time. We hired freshers in the past, but we don't really see those particular open positions with us at the moment. But I think it's a very fair and interesting question. The reason why I believe it, the reason why I feel it so is because people can be unlucky that they don't really get the campus placements or maybe the opportunity that they were looking for when they pass out from their colleges or something like that. How can they make sure that their resume stands out now is a challenge, right? And for them, because they don't really have any experience to show, for them it is very important to find out the right organizations that they can reach out to. For example, if they have done their personal projects in the space of AI, then target all the AI companies, right? If they have done their personal project in some other domain, healthcare, then target healthcare companies. Don't just randomly start sending your CV to every organization because then it doesn't make any sense, right? If your projects are very well made and you can showcase them on your CV very very nicely. I mean, I have examples of people who reach out to me and they have their entire portfolios ready and they don't have any experience, right? They are freshers out of college and they have presented their personal projects such nicely through a portfolio that that they can put even a seasoned person's CV to shame. Yeah, I have seen that, and I just cry about it that why don't other seasoned candidates present their CVs in the same manner. So if you can present your projects in the best way possible, and you're reaching out to the right audience for your uh, mm, passion for your project, I think you will definitely find an opportunity for sure. But just make sure that whatever you are presenting, it is presented in a way where it stands out. It should not be just another generic, hey, I did this, I did that, a Word document. Prepare a very, very nice looking PDF, give the links, maybe take some screenshots from your project, show them how exactly it looks like. Try to create like, maybe a 10 or 12 MB ka PDF. I think that would definitely draw a lot of eyeballs, and people will want to talk to you if you have some interesting projects and if you have showcased them in a very very nice manner, for sure.
No, amazing. I think yeah, that's the first step that you can do. Uh,
Yeah,
Yep. Awesome. I think we took a lot of questions, and the time is now almost up, so we will not be able to take any more questions. But to everyone who is attending the session, we have a few next steps for all of you, so that this conversation can continue with a lot of other mentors, including Himanshu, of course. You can go to uplers.com/talent and apply. There are a couple of roles of Quillbot open, and I'm sure if your fitment is there, you will get a maximum score, and your profile will be taken through, or you'll get to know your statuses. Second, we have our Discord. The link is there in the chat box. We'll invite Himanshu to join our Discord as well. And there are many more experts like Himanshu who are already a part of our Discord. Would request you to join that community and carry on the conversations over there as well. So that's about it for today's session. Truly appreciate each and every one of you who participated, who are curious enough, and now I'm sure you will have achieved some great knowledge and great insights to take forward in your job search journey. Thanks a ton to Himanshu for sparing the time today, despite having so many people
What
to
positions to
review,
work
so
on?
many resumes to review, and still
Yeah.
taking the time and making sure that our community learns a lot of insider tips and tricks from you. Thanks a ton. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Looking forward to the next one. We'll keep you all posted. Thank you and bye bye. Good night.
Thank you everyone. Uplers is a great portal. Please do check it out if you're not already checked it out. I think they have some great tests and some great assessment criteria in there as well. If any of you have not checked it out yet, I really encourage you to do it. Thanks for your time, Richard. Thanks for everybody from Uplers community uh, who organized this particular event, and I really enjoyed speaking with everybody. And I hope people learned a bit about our culture, about values, or maybe how can they reach out to you know to other recruiters, or maybe recruiters at Quillbot when they're applying for a job. In and again, join all the channels where uploads are. I'll be more than happy to speak to a lot of you in the near future as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.